Uh, I would like to talk how to apply machine learning techniques in web data analysis by define the topic of, and we are studying together at the web words. So all the people thought about his task is going to the at the current time when that 2020 all the like this task has been moved to the from maybe local work to the internet work or the online work. Before this time, when I would be question papers, I have to go for the college. At the current time, also the situation it will be agent system or through maybe to got their answers and correct also by manually through those systems. So I would like to apply the way, like machine learning techniques to got knowledge from web data. Why? Because or some other remote databases, but our with those databases. But now we are moving all our data into clouds technology and server technology, be visible to all the peoples around the world if they know my secret information or they know my sensitive information. So for the browsing and getting the information from the peoples, all the users behind their offices and systems and browsing some content on web servers, or maybe sometimes we call that data centers, and they got their information typing some contents in search engines or retrieval systems, and they the system also have to related documents or related contents to them. Actually, this is the scenario on the web. Web server admins or maybe the web contains based on requirements. So for that reason, I have to think about two situations. The second situation related to mining of these contents and results and accurate feedback to my users. So I will talk about two options and will explain each one by taking into consideration the using contents, the web users behavior and web users do on through their systems or smart devices. So all of you, when they are sitting on smart devices or smartphones, maybe PCs, typing some contents on the Google or some other browsers from websites or some other data centers by through the public IP address, it will the document through a web viewer. So what kinds of information sitting or sessions, and what kinds of knowledge they can extracted from my side to monitor system and just or doing some sessions. We can go for the Windows history file or Windows log file and activity through that file. So the same situation of typically it will be applied on the web server itself. We are when we are sitting around the systems and typing some contents to be to like download some events. Actually, these kinds of events, it has been recorded in certain file. It's called the log file. Typically, this log file resides server admins can access to that server unknown my information, and also he can apply some and knowing everything about me. And at the current time, all the what we can say, all the produce some social engineering softwares focus on these kinds of information to understand to better the community behavior, what kinds of a project we would like to purchase, what kinds of terms we are doing. Typically, these kinds of information very sensitive and private to all users. So, most common known files, which called the access log files, it's just concerned with you internet user through the smart devices, and the error log files maybe admins or engineer. I have to monitor my server performance. All performance uh, maybe produce very bad all the errors and counting just a number of errors. Maybe I'm applying some techniques performance maybe rate of that server. This other agent log files is just reside on knowledge about the user browsers and agent systems. I can know from that file also what software my user they use to access my contents. Maybe suppose I have some contents is not comfortable or not worked with some these contents to be very easy to browse or download customers according to their system. Suppose before this time the techniques that used to like browsing the techniques that at that time is very different from the techniques of the 2020, and I have to choose and I have to update the techniques on the server side to to be very sorry. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir. You are
Okay.
audible, sir.
Yes. Thank you for the information. So why I have to adopt my users or my customers very accurate information, and also to keep as possible as the organization or maybe company side. The last one is related from which place or from which uh, position the user comes to my site through the some other websites from other archiving files. So for log files structure, I have to adopt very correct knowledge from this. One important note also, I have to know the techniques year by year has been changed. So suppose if you are design a website before 10 years, it's totally the current year. Why? Because the smart devices systems, browsers, operating system has been developed, the browsers also, anything challenge scholars around the world, whatever, has just maybe, for example, 1 terabyte contents in this server or in this data centers. So to search any content on archive in your server, maybe it's take, for example, 1 hour to achieve that task. And for some any content in that data center on that database, so maybe the complexity but how about the 10 years later? Are you planning to remove all the contents from the keep the accuracy for your, but suppose if you have a journal or you have years, 20 years, 30 years before, so you have not allowed to remove that content. So I have to think about new algorithms and techniques and uh, 4 terabytes maybe in 2025. What kinds of complexity maybe I reach at that time, but algorithm should be to me very accurate results, and I about the complexity in size and time also to show the result to my users, and I have comfortable with the exclusive growth of the contents at that database or at actually this challenge become very important when the 19 COVID-20 and maybe we are facing another pandemic in the future, about how to adopt a new algorithms and systems to archiving my contents, and also the contents very huge than other years by because some organizations, some maybe offices, any other maybe their local system, but at the current time they have joined to the online complexity become very much than other years because of this situation. So internet users, actually the user maybe the action made by the and just searching here in the archiving system what kinds of information that user want, and I have to show him the information around through the our browser. The people that sitting behind the server, they can understand my behavior. Typically these kinds of information very sensitive, because if someone know your private, he can hack it your information very easily, and also he can detect where are you now and when you are joining your system and what kinds of situation. So many try to build up user profiles to just behavior and grouping together the similar user behavior. So the information is, so I can detect from which place, from which state visiting to my content, and what is the actual IP address of that user. The second is the time, because maybe suppose you are sitting behind your system and just enter some information related to your bank account, maybe you are, so I can know if that user post some contents or got some contents. Actually, these the internet user, because either the user gives some information or push some information to the internet, what kinds of action he made at that time. Actually, the and the others information, receive the information successfully or not. Just in your system and browsing some contents, you cannot reach that content successfully for at certain time, but you can reach the configuration and many others like parameters. So I can know all data he downloaded from my data center. I'm just talking about this scenario. So I can know. Google also archiving each and content to their data center, either in like store that contents in their reside in other data sets. So they give to me non expected or not. Now my class is online, my schedule online, everything online, and all think about me. So I have to know also what kinds of to browsing these contents, and also my browsing and also my agent system, what kinds of operating system I used, and all this information actually can be file. An example of the structure of the recent structure, the common log file format at the, let us talk about the recent 6-7 years in the server to register as much as possible the information, important information about users. Kinds of information or patterns I can extract it from each log file and build a user profile, and also because both files merging together in the current technologies of the server, adopting some machine learning and to just give me each technique application. There is a certain of limitation. For for example, from 2010 up to 2000, adopt their techniques and technologies to take care about the challenges that facing 20 and later. From me through this file browsing contents. Suppose maybe so many users browsing certain things related to URL and others also. So to extract these kinds of you heard an examples of these softwares. What kinds of limitations facing when I process the to apply any technique or algorithms, you have to analyze the data acceptable form to apply your technique. So the main challenge reside on the first step. To suppose in 2010, all the techniques that used at that time, they used HTML techniques, but now they are using another techniques, for example, ASP pages and PHP5. There is a lot of tags and codes increased, and we know all of you, they know the maybe HTML tags, maybe 500 tag. How many tags actually reside on techniques adopted at the current time? Why? Because most of the peoples move to smart devices, maybe through the mobile system, not to adopt a new techniques that are able to show smart devices. Also, there are a lot of techniques. Challenges reside on the pre-processing of these techniques. So to extract the data mining, but before, because we are focused on the web contents, so the term that used in this situation, it was web mining. And web mining also, there is a different classification depending on extract and process, maybe usage contents, like so it's depend on the suppose if you are if you have a text document, no usage content on that documents. But when you are transfer that files to that file, the structure contents, I have to understand to which that content, and what kinds of information exist on the content itself. So there is three machine pre-processing techniques, the same pre-processing techniques, but I have to adopt that techniques that use for pre-process the contents on the data mining. I have to take into position of each content. I will give an example. Just let me go for inserted that one. You can find the topic, the title of that documents, and then it will be maybe some and you have to go for the structure content of that document, of maybe whatever the techniques that you to design or to view that file. Maybe you have to search about the header, the words reside between these tags. It means the like the title to just archiving this file. You are browsing Google and typing some terms, you can just like you will searching about certain words. Also, the books that archiving in Google, you can talking about these terms. Maybe that terms is not exist in the term title or keywords, but if someone talking about this was also, you can reach to that document, but it depend on your page rank or your result rank. And this is also another situation for results. Simple explanation after I analyze all my web of techniques to expect what kinds of information that users and all the companies searching about these points at the current time uh, affect my next behavior. So I have to analyze the data first, then apply the techniques. So I can expect what kinds of information he always browsing, and maybe in the next few months what kinds of activity he can do. User, then suppose if you would like to know your friend's behavior, you just monitor that friend and understand what kinds of food he like, what kinds of wear clothes maybe, or your family or whatever. The same situation also on web. They won't, they have to monitor behavior. They can understand what kinds of information we are requesting from also they can expect what kinds of action we will maybe made after 1 month or 2 months by record each and every data mining techniques, for example classification algorithm here. So you can classify the user one may be interested in AR and journals and maybe in or files or content, whatever is depend on your analysis. I can expect the user one similar to each other and their behavior similar to each other for the medical contents. And from these kinds of information, I can expect he come to my network and when he browsing any other contents and what kinds of information he would like to have. So most of companies like Amazon and all other maybe Netflix, any other these products or whatever the interested products, they can list or they show you that results on your screen. Maybe if you are not interested in another no need to show you that contents, but doing the analysis from time to time. Why? Maybe they can change. Why? Because suppose I am postgraduate students for MSc maybe image analysis and maybe processing. So at that time, for example 2010 to 12, I'm just browsing about this content but to network. So I have to record all this information to get very good results about that user and together in the profiles and expect what kinds of actions they can make in the futures. Through that scenario, they want to understand maybe create users, maybe uh,